Okay. And here we go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to a very special edition of The Captain's Table. I am your host, Captain B-Nard, live and in person for the first time in 45 episodes to bring you what could quite possibly be the most epic Captain's Table episode ever. That is live and in person, the panel to discuss a review of Spider-Man No Way Home. So, of course, you have the panel in person. We have Jonny Reps making the 14th appearance right there, smashing the beer can on his desk.
Yeah! 45!
And
Okay.
making her 8th appearance, Feltz Wild. And appearing in person, yes, I know, which was a big deal. So, but we got it. We called in all the favors, and from
You're lucky.
all of the help that I've given to Feltz Wild on her Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Feltz_Wild, where we do Fortnite streaming on the regular. So we're getting the plug out of the way
She does
now.
solo streams on her own.
Because, and also our solo streams, because, and actually, we're going to bring this up before we get into the subject at hand. Apparently, I am nothing but a self-promoting piece of crap, so I've been told by a certain someone,
Ain't nothing but...
so
Okay.
now you can't say a damn thing because I just started my podcast with a promotion for you, so I don't want to hear it, okay? I don't want to hear your backhanded crap when you think I'm not listening after I sign off at the end of a stream, okay?
That's only the polite thing to do. I plugged every single person who's ever been on my podcast. By the way, Strength for All podcast.
All right, there you have that. So, okay, plugs aside, live aside, talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. So we're gonna go through,
You're only about 2.5 months late.
whatever. It's been 2 months since the movie came out. I think this is a good thing because we've had time to digest the movie and we've had time to think about everything. Because I think I can speak for everybody here when I say on the surface, this movie was pretty freaking incredible. And you guys know that I'm a critic and I try to see things objectively and devil's advocate and all that stuff, but I really couldn't think of anything negative about this movie when I first saw it. So
No black Spider-Man.
uh,
Just said it.
well, how much
Miles.
do you owe that? I thought you meant Black Suit Spider-Man. I
No.
didn't know you were talking about Miles Morales. Okay,
Of
so
course, because that's Electro.
but how much more do you want? You got Bully Maguire, you got
We didn't.
Andre Garfunkel, as you like to call him. So, yeah, but I think it's a good thing. The waiting will end up being a good thing because it's time to digest everything that happened and reflect and think to ourselves, was this movie really as good, as great, as epic as we initially thought it was watching it?
That's a good spin. That's a good excuse for procrastinating so long.
It wasn't procrastinating. It was really hard to try and get everybody together. It was hard to
You
convince...
literally told me about this 2 days ago.
Yeah, but you were out with COVID, and then other people were doing other
I can
things.
still fucking
and
go on Zoom when I have COVID.
from where? A hotel in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I did for all my clients for 2 weeks.
Well, I didn't know that was an option. Okay, so whatever. So
And the internet was still better than the one you have right now.
whatever. So I'm not used to doing live in person. Usually I have beautiful low quality thumbnails instead. But yeah, so my internet might not be able to keep up. But you know what? It's worth it because we're doing this uh, in to
The internet is a
commemorate the
series of
event.
tubes.
Whatever, to commemorate the event of Spider-Man No Way Home and the bringing together of all of the Spider-Men. So,
That's
yes,
us.
there it
We're
is.
the Spider-Man.
Right there. Yes. All right. So, yeah. So let's go through. Take it from the top. So, in the beginning, and you know what? It's weird because this movie obviously opened up like right after Far From Home ended, right? And I don't know why, but I was actually surprised by that. Like I thought there would be like a period of time that passed in between and the end of the last one and the beginning of this one, but they just did a fucking Rogue One into episode 4 situation where they just ran them right into each other. And
But that was stupid.
were you guys surprised by that? Because I was surprised by it, and then I actually felt stupid for being surprised by it because I thought
I wasn't surprised about it at all.
okay, gotcha.
I was surprised that it didn't start with Bully Maguire walking through the Thanos portal.
Oh, and ending the final battle.
No, and just like I don't know, smacking Tom Holland or something.
Okay, so since we're live on camera, we have to do this then. The Bully Maguire.
You're so glitchy. It's I don't know what
I'm
you're
not
doing.
glitchy
I
on my
can't-
side. I'm really not glitchy on my side. So I don't know what that's gonna be. Oh my
Yeah,
God, Sam!
he's a,
This is your opportunity to practice what we discussed. Yes, there it is. There it is.
That's all you get.
It must be
if
my
this
birthday because I've been
if
asking you
this
to do that
stream
forever.
my birthday was last week, but if this stream was like a live journal in 2006, you'd be getting all the views.
There you go. Well, too bad it's not 16 years ago. Anywho, so back to the topic at hand. Maybe this is why this can't happen more often because we haven't even really talked about the topic at hand like at all. So
That's because you need the intro to be like 7 minutes long.
I don't need it to be. I need it to be like 30 seconds long, but sidetracks and tangents and whatever. Okay. So, but the most important thing is having fun. That is the most important.
Jim Cornette talks about like
My God.
the whatever
Nobody
whatever
watching
stupid
this-
bullshit
the
whatever
seven-
stupid bullshit happened to him for like an hour at the beginning of his podcast.
He talks about stupid bullshit that happened to him like 30 years ago.
No. He literally talks about like his daily life. Like he's like, oh, I had the guy come over and mow my lawn today, and then there was someone stuck in the hill, in the ice going up the hill. And God damn it, Brian, I'll tell you what.
All right. So enough about that. So, all right. So we get
Dog, I don't know if I told you her name's Harley Quinn.
Whoa! Can't kill. All right. So anyway, all right. So yeah. Oh my God. All right. So
Cornette's gonna make an appearance on the captain's table as a
Back
big Marvel fan.
to the topic at hand, which is Spider-Man No Way Home, which is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, in my opinion. Spoiler alert, I'm giving it away early. So, all right. So we
You want
get...
to do a spoiler-free review?
No!
To start out, we can spoiler-free because
fucking
we know like now 2 months after it came out, no, there's still people who haven't seen it. For sure,
No.
right?
We're not doing
I'd say
that.
a week maybe, but not 2 months.
Yeah, we're not doing that. All right, so we get the beginning sequence, I think. So I have to say I did like it, but I thought it was a little bit drawn out in the sense that like they have all this like, oh, he's running from everybody, and then like it was good and it was comical, but it felt like it went a little too long, and then at least for me anyway. So then we get to
I'll tell you what I noticed in that opening sequence
sure.
that I was like, come on. It's like it's so noticeable that Tom Holland is shorter than Zendaya or whatever the fuck her name is.
Yes, he is.
And I was just like, I was like, come on, why is Spider-Man like 5'3"?
She brought up in an interview when, they're swinging and everything, and she's obviously taller than him. So she always had to, like, land first,
Yeah,
and then he would land awkwardly after her.
That's funny.
she'd have to like pick her legs up or something.
Or like
Yeah.
hunch over or something to fucking that's actually pretty funny. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Too short to be Spider-Man, and
Just
he's
checking.
definitely too short to be Uncharted Drake's Fortune. But that's a different
that's a
podcast
topic
for
for
a different
another time. Although I'm probably not gonna do a podcast about that.
I'm
But
seeing
anyway.
it Friday.
There's
Oh,
nobody's
it's
gonna see
coming
it
out
except Sam for
already.
some stupid reason. I thought it was out already.
No, it's out Friday.
Okay, so I must have seen preliminary reviews. All right, off topic.
That's okay. That's just gonna be the way it is. Anyway, so then we get to the point where
If you want to see if you want to see us talk about the pod, if you want to see us talk about that, leave a comment below. If you want to see us talk about Tom Holland and Uncharted, if you want us to actually go see it, leave a comment below.
I'm still not gonna see it, but you know what? Maybe I will see it. Okay, it's just bad though. Sully with no mustache is a crime, and that's all I'm gonna say.
I agree. And I'm going into this movie because Neil Druckmann, he said that it's a completely different from the games. They're only taking the characters and the theme.
But that's
So,
basically they're
it's-
Resident Eviling it, which is gonna make
That's
it fucking.
completely
I know.
pointless.
Oh my
I know.
God, that's awful.
I
Can
know.
we just talk about
But
Spider-Man?
I'm gonna go in with
Yes.
that instead of expecting
Fair enough.
Uncharted.
And also, we know we've hit a wall when Johnny becomes the voice of reason. So now we really have to get back to the topic at hand. So, all right. So the mark out moment for me came when we get the Daredevil cameo, which I was a big fan of because I love Daredevil.
Hold on.
What?
It was not Daredevil. It was Jason Bateman or whatever his character's name. What's his fucking real name?
Matt Murdock.
Matt
Cool.
Murdock. There we go. It was
Yes.
not Daredevil. It was Matt Murdock.
And
The
then
lawyer, the best
the
lawyer.
best lawyer who can catch the brick without looking. So I that was a mark out moment for me because I love Daredevil and I love Charlie Cox. The way he portrays that character is really awesome to me.
I never
So
watched it.
you're missing out. That's all I could say is
It
you're missing
wasn't
out.
on Netflix. It
It
wasn't like a
was on
Disney
Yeah,
Plus
Netflix.
it's
thing.
Yes,
leaving soon.
Is it going to be on Disney Plus then?
I think so.
I don't know.
Ma-
All of
Then maybe I'll
Marvel's
watch it.
leaving or Netflix. That's all I know.
Yes, I
Ooh.
did. I did see that. All right. So yeah, so we get that, and I think that's pretty cool. And I will say, I know I said they took a little bit too much time doing this, but I do appreciate the fact that they made a big deal about, everybody finding out that he was Spider-Man and like going through school and like the teachers and the classmates and like everybody just being like, what the fuck, like what do we do? So it had a very that whole sequence had a very real air to it. You know what I mean? Like it just felt real. It felt like if somebody was actually a superhero in the real world, this is what would happen to them, and I really appreciated that. But I don't know what you guys
It
thought.
seemed like a more modern take on Spider-Man, where they're like with like social media and everything, where how they're just like everybody knows immediately like what's going on, right? Because that's what would happen is like everybody would be on Twitter in like 5 seconds. They'd be like, "Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
Spider-Man!"
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. So I appreciated the way that they did that. I really did. Um, so, um, we get all that, and then we get to him obviously like getting denied going to college and like it's hurting everyone around him, which is cool too because it's like. And also actually another part about that I thought was cool was that it's not like everybody was on his side. Like you had the people who were on his side and the people were against him, which was kind of like a callback to Spider-Man 2 actually with Maguire in the Tobey Maguire trilogy, I think, where like a lot of the public turned on him kind of, and like not everybody was on his side, and obviously it was because of lies, but like they were still it was still it was very callbacky, which obviously
Spider-Man, he's a menace.
I
He's a
was
menace to
okay.
society. He stole a suit. He's a thief.
That was a mark out moment for me too because I was waiting for J.K. Simmons to be like he's a menace, and then I was like yes. It was great. There were so
Speaking of
many.
which, he was just like that. You never actually even like. He's barely even in the movie.
He is. There needed to be more J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson in the movie because we did not get enough in the Tobey Maguire trilogy. I know I didn't. Um, so because how
I
could you
think there was honestly, I think there was just enough for that trilogy, but we still need more.
exactly like you can never have enough of that. You really can't. So, um, but yeah. So of course this leads to the actual plot point of the movie, which is he needs to try and find a way to fix everything, and he can't because everybody knows who he is and there's no way to fix it. So the only way to fix it is to call upon the master of the mystic arts, of course, to cast a spell to make everybody forget that he is Spider-Man. So
This is not the Spider-Man you're looking for.
there it is. There's the Star Wars reference. So yeah, so we did that. We got that, and then yeah, we definitely can't have Johnny on camera again after this. That's for sure. So
Damn
um,
it.
yeah. So all right. So we get that, and then so he goes to Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Hey, can you just like work some magic on people and make them all forget who I am?" And I was kind of
He's
weirded
like,
out.
sure, no problemo,
Exactly, and that's
no
what kind of
problemo. Year old kid who I've only met once.
yeah, and that's what kind of weirded me out about the whole situation is I was like I thought it was funny and it was cool, but like
It's like no problem. A 15-year-old kid I've only met once. I'll break the universe for you, no problem.
exactly, and I was just like, what the fuck? And as you pointed out, Sam, although I think this turned out to be not true, that whole sequence led to the speculation that like wasn't Doctor Strange and all that. Even though I think we can
Yeah,
safely say that that's not the case at this point, but that
but in the future,
well, we're gonna talk about that at the end. The what you sent me earlier. We're gonna talk about that later
yeah.
What do we
for
call this
sure.
weirdo? 8-armed man with puts octopus arms on himself. Call him Doctor Strange. Good, but it's taken.
Yes, yes, that was so great. Like the fact that Ramai is directing the new Doctor Strange, but we're gonna get to that later. So
Didn't even know that. Okay.
really, Yeah, no,
I
he
didn't know
is.
Sam Raimi is doing it. All right.
He's doing the multiverse of madness. But anyway, so he casts the spell and it gets fucked up. And so actually,
No, he didn't cast the spell and it gets fucked up. He cast the spell like 4 times and he kept making
Yeah,
changes to it.
because yeah, because Peter kept changing it. Like, oh, I want them to remember me. I want this guy to
I
remember
thought it
me.
was so like
yes.
like I don't know. Although I kind of understand because like I was thinking back to like when I was watching the Doctor Strange movie about how like when the his character in the Doctor Strange movie is kind of like he's kind of an asshole, and I was like I could almost kind of see him doing this, but it's like to me such a jump in logic. Like I don't know, it's hard for me to believe that Doctor Strange is just like let me break the universe for you, kid, no problem. Of course, sure, why not? Right? Like I don't know, it's a big
So
jump.
I can see that, and I did have like mixed feelings about that because Doctor Strange has been known to bend the rules. That's how he defeated Dormammu in the first one, right? So and he has a soft spot, I think, for Spider-Man, even though he has only met him once, like you said. But he has a soft spot, I think, because of like you know,
Not Tony fucking Stark.
well, yeah, he's not. He doesn't have that soft of a spot for him, but
Okay.
So I think yeah. But I do agree with you there. I think so, and this kind of leads to me to like the most unbelievable part of the movie to me, or the part that probably the only part of the movie that I really take like a big issue with, because everything else is just kind of like nitpicks. But so the idea behind him trying to cast a spell and it fucking up, and that's what like tears open the multiverse. So at the time I was just like, sure, whatever, but upon further consideration, it kind of made me think like, does that really make sense? Like does that whole line really make sense? You know what I mean? And I kind of don't necessarily think it does, but it's like at the same time I get like what other explanation or like bullshit reason are you going to invent or pull out of thin air for this to happen? You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, so I don't
I mean,
know.
they could have come up with something. I'm sure. Like they could have said like, uh, Doctor. They could literally they could have just said like, oh, that wasn't supposed. Doctor Strange or Wong are doing like some mystical looking into a crystal ball, and they're like, that wasn't supposed to happen in this timeline, so we must change it. And then Peter fucks him up. I could like, come on, it's so easy. I just thought pull that out of my ass. These
Yeah,
these writers, like, come on, I should be making the money.
I think you're muted, Sam. I don't know if you knew that you muted yourself, but
I did not mute myself. You
no, not
just
you. I
can't
said
hear me because
Sam. Is your name
No,
Sam?
I'm not saying anything.
No, I
Sam's
know,
just
but I
they're
I
just
said
pantomime. She's like,
just pantomiming. Yes. All right. So yeah. So that was the one part of the movie that was upon thinking about it more. I don't know. What's your take on it, Sam? Do you think it's just good enough, or do you think that they could have done better in explaining that?
I think it was fine. It would have worked, and then he decided to mess with it, and messing with that kind of a spell, I can see how it would open a rift. But that's
So
me.
you're going good enough. All right. Good enough. Gotcha.
why the fuck would he do it in the first place? That's the real
I
question.
mean, because
Because Peter was so
he's a risk taker, I
sad.
guess. I don't know.
He was being nice, I guess. And that's see, there's a
Because
lesson, folks. Never
Peter
do
came
anything
to him and
nice
his
for
Never be
anybody.
nice.
Peter's feels were so hurt that he really needed this. really
But then
needed this
after the
win.
He's
fact,
a
he was
teenager.
well. Then after the
That's
fact, he
exactly why
was
he shouldn't do it.
well. Then after the fact, he was like, the real problem here is you trying to live two lives, and it's like you probably should have led with that. But what can you do? So, but yeah, this is the only part of this is really I know we're spending a lot of time on it, but I think this is really in my view anyway, this is really the only part of the movie that plot wise that actually kind of like gets me, and I think they could have done a better job on. But anyway,
Oh,
um,
we'll see about that.
well, I said in my view. I know Johnny's got a lot of opinions that you're going to hear about that you're not going to like. So we'll find out.
Really?
No, I was just doing a callback to past personas. So you look like you're frozen in time in the fucking. I know you're just holding that dumbass face. Whatever. All right. So then we go past that, and then we go to um, he's trying to like talk to the college admissions board professor to let his friends in the college, and then lo and behold, we get the first appearance of many. What are
Doctor
you,
Octagonopus.
Doctor Octagon? Sam, what in the hell are you doing?
I'm
What? What was
Enjoying the
that
moment.
supposed to be? Are you listening to music on the other side? Is that what this is?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm excited for Doc Ock.
So I was happy about Doc Ock. I mean, having seen the trailer, it
Alfred
was already
Molina or whatever his name is.
Alfred. Yeah.
Yep.
His reveal was already ruined, obviously, by the trailer. So like the oh shit moment wasn't there when he came out, but it was still really cool to see him back because he
That's
All
why
of
is.
you
them were.
shouldn't even watch the trailers. Like I tried really hard not to watch anything, but I had that ruined for me.
Yeah, but it's still cool because I know we talk about like perfect casting in the superhero movies a lot, specifically with Marvel. But like, I really do think that he doesn't actually get enough credit as being like a damn near perfect Doctor Octopus. Honestly, like
Oh,
he
agreed.
really is great
You know, a
in
lot of
that
people
role.
still think Spider-Man 2 is like one of the best superhero movies ever.
It is. We ranked it number one actually on our Spider-Man's Power Ranking podcast a little bit ago. Although I think
We're
that might
talking
have to
like all
change.
Supermans.
All
Or all
Spider-Mans.
superhero movie. I mean, all superhero movies. A lot of people
Yeah.
still say it's one of the best out of all of them. Like, not just
Uh,
Spider-Man.
No, I know, but I would agree with that. I actually would agree with that. I think it holds up to this day. It really does.
The only thing better is Blade Trinity.
I'm gonna have to say no on that.
Triple H was in it.
I do
Oh,
like Blade Trinity, but no.
Is that the one that Triple H?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
there you go.
And
So
Ryan Reynolds.
Like,
yeah. So yeah, we get Doctor Octopus and he fights Peter, and it's funny because like so this fight scene was actually cool. So there's a couple cool things about this movie, I think, and that's that the Tom Holland Spider-Man got to have fights with like iconic Spider-Man villains that he probably otherwise wouldn't have got to fight. So like obviously the most if you want to name like the most iconic Spider-Man villains of all time, to me like your top 3 would probably have in no particular order mind you because that would be a hard thing would be Green Goblin, Doc Ock and Venom. So
it would be Venom, Scorpion, and Shocker, and none of them were in this movie.
no,
Disappointment.
it wouldn't be. No, Venom was. He was in that post-credit scene,
Yes, he was.
which we
Oh, it
didn't
was
get
not
to.
Venom. That was Tom Hardy.
Oh my God, whatever. But yeah, the fight scene was cool, and then he beats him by so it was kind of interesting that he beat him by outsmarting him with the nanotech, which is like kind of cool, I think.
Can we just say right now, this is proof that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is far superior to Tom Holland's Spider-Man because Tom Holland was about to get his ass kicked, even with the fucking
The nanotech.
Iron Spider suit, and the only reason he didn't get killed is because the nanotech like took over the Doctor Octopus's arms. Like Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire
Bully
beat Doc
Maguire
Ock.
took him out without all that fancy shit.
Yes, while protecting Aunt May.
and
And then the second time,
and
Mary
MJ
Jane.
and MJ.
Yeah, and MJ. And so Tom Holland is a pussy. That's the of the story. Now, I'm not talking about Spider-Man. I'm talking about Tom Holland himself.
Sam, your take?
I got nothing. I thought it was fine.
No, I was asking your take on. Do you think Tom Holland is a pussy?
Oh,
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
absolutely
okay.
not.
First of all, he's British. Second of all, he's short. Third of all, he's young. Come on.
All
He's
right.
the
Well,
perfect age for Peter Parker.
for young Peter Parker, yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather see 30-year-old Tobey Maguire pretending to be 18.
He's not. He's more like 50 now than 30.
Well, he's talking about Spider-Man. Like, you know.
Yeah.
All right,
Spider-Man
I would
3.
see.
He was like,
I would rather. I'd
he
rather
was like
see Tobey Maguire.
35.
I'd rather see mid-30s Tobey Maguire pretending to be 19.
Yeah, he was like 35, and he still got the. He is a good boy.
It's like he's almost as old as I am, but he is a good boy.
Yes. So that was the one. That was another thing this movie was missing. If we're jumping ahead to the end, is that the guy asking Tom Holland for rent wasn't Mr. Ditkovich.
Who asked
Yeah,
him
I
for
was a
rent?
little disappointed in that myself.
Really? You cared about that? That's actually kind of shocking. Mr.
I was expecting it.
It should have just been like he should have just been like rent. That would
Me
have
rent.
been perfect. But yeah, so after they defeat Doc Ock, then we get the other iconic villain emerging. Of course,
I was so excited.
a personal favorite of my girlfriend, actually, Willem Dafoe. She has a huge female hard on for him, or whatever the female equivalent of a hard on is for him,
Why do
because
people like Willem Dafoe? Like, I remember I saw
he
this list
plays
like a
a
few years.
Great.
he plays a perfect psychopath. That's why so many
I
Mhm,
saw
people
this
like him.
mhm,
list.
mhm.
I saw this list like a few years ago that was like the top 10 like ugliest actors, and he was like number 2 on the list. But I have like this client who like loves Willem Dafoe and swears he's like the handsomest man ever, and I'm like, I don't get it at all. Like,
I don't know if she's talking about liking him from like like an attractive perspective. I don't think
oh, she
that's
is.
Like
the
Women
sex.
like women like Willem Dafoe for some fucking reason.
well, whatever.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
do.
she's talking about from an well, there you go. But she's talking about it from an acting perspective.
Hmm.
So is it or from the and he did a great job. And he is a sung hero, not an unsung hero, but a sung hero of Spider-Man villains, obviously. So that's been well documented. So he comes back, and then I think it was cool how so they capture Doc Ock and they try to get more information. But on the other side of things, I think it was cool how what they did with Willem Dafoe, how they showed him like smash the Green Goblin helmet, and then he
Yeah, it was
kind of
cool.
like takes back over control of his himself, and then it almost looks like he's actually gonna go straight. But I know the reason they did that is because so many people complained about the fact that he had the goblin mask on in the original Spider-Man movie from back in the day. So they
Yeah.
were like, and you know what I didn't even realize until they got rid of the goblin mask, and then like toward the end of the movie where they had him with like the hood over his head and like all the rest of the suit on. I was like, you know what? This actually looks better than what it did with the goblin mask on, because like his face is so like creepy and weird that like it fits so well without the mask, and I think the fact that he's older now probably helps that too. But
A little bit, probably.
yeah, but it really works, honestly. So
Yeah, good on that William Defoe.
yeah, so but that's not the only character redesign that we got, as we're getting to then, because then the next set of villains, well, first they do Lizard, but nobody cares about that. um and then they do
It was the same.
yeah, so I didn't even know this until I think you tell me this, Sam, I think, is that they didn't even bring back the guy who played the Lizard or the guy who played the Sandman for this movie. They just used like a bunch of all like fucking creatively edited shots and like audio clips of
Didn't know
them to
that.
like somebody told me that. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I think it is. And somebody told me that. I thought it was you, but
I know I'm pretty sure it was for at least or at least Sandman. Like the guy who played Sandman wasn't actually in the movie. They just used like reshots and stuff, like edited shots from and CGI stuff, mock-ups based on like the
and
Spider-Man
that's
3
why he
footage.
wasn't right, and that's why like even when he was in human form all the way up until the very end, he was still like in like sanded, you know what I mean? Like when they go to the apartment in like toward the middle of the movie, he still like looks like sand. He doesn't look like himself. So but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the same thing with the guy who played the Lizard as well. So interesting fact. um,
And then I guess they just did voiceovers.
no, they just they those two actors were not even associated with the movie. I don't think they just spliced a whole bunch of audio and footage from them
Really?
together. That's what I heard. Yeah, they just spliced a
Oh,
bunch of it.
it says right here.
Fact check.
It says it was never Spider-Man No Way Home's visual effects supervisor reveals that the dude who played the guy's name is what's his name, something Hayden Church, never actually appeared on set for the film. We had his voice. We weren't able to get a lot of visuals on him, but we were able to get his voice for sure, and we got scans and textures and things like that.
Okay, so he did the voiceover then, because that
It's,
would make sense.
Gotcha.
it says in December there was speculation Sony and Marvel recycled older footage of Church
Who's that? The
and
guy who played the Lizard?
yeah, no, that Church was
No,
Sandman
The
and
Sandman.
Reese
right.
Evans
Rice Iphans is.
who played the Lizard. It
I
says,
don't like him
however,
as the
neither of
Lizard.
these. It says no one officially confirmed that this was the case, and while Port's statement is not necessarily confirmation, it does lead to some legitimacy to these claims. So apparently, a lot of people are suspecting it, but it hasn't been officially confirmed. But the director
Right.
says that they weren't ever actually on set.
There you go. So,
So
and they
yeah,
also did the other reason I say that is because they also did a villains panel, and it was just Defoe, Alfred, and Jamie Foxx. It was just the three of them. So, yeah.
about Doctor Strange, he was kind of a villain.
No, I wouldn't say that. Not in this movie. But
He
stay
fought.
tuned.
He had the longest solo fight scene with Tom Holland Spider-Man of anybody in the entire movie.
He did that solo fight scene. Yes, that is true. Although I don't know, maybe fucking Holland and Defoe, Green Goblin.
Oh yeah, in the building.
Yeah, and
Oh
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that if you add that plus them fighting at the end, it's probably more. So anyway, yeah. So moving along, then they reintroduce after Lizard, they reintroduce Electro and Sandman, and so they fix the Sandman also, or I'm sorry, not the Sandman. They fix Electro because,
Electro.
as we all remember from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, as I like to call it, the worst Spider-Man movie ever. Um, the fucking design of Electro in that movie was awful, and they fix it in this one, so I'm cool with that.
I never saw that movie. That's the only
Amazing
Spider-Man movie
Spider-Man
I
2.
haven't seen.
Okay.
I never saw Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You're not missing any. You're missing Blue Blob Electro, fucking Stark Tech Rhino, and fucking Meth Addict Green Goblin. That's what you're missing. So
I saw the Gwen Stacy dying scene on
yeah,
YouTube, but that's about it.
that was that was supposed to be the big thing about that movie, and they fucked that up. But we talked about that in the Spider-Man podcast. So we don't need to talk about that again. But yeah, so then they capture them all, and so when they introduce the Sandman, though, it's cool because like they at first they have him working with Peter because playing off what happened at the end of Spider-Man 3, which is good. And then when he realizes he's not his Peter, he kind of like freaks out, and then he goes a little bit bad, and then they have to lock him up too. But anyway, so then we get more fans. There was so much fan service in this movie, and we're coming up on a big one when they have Green Goblin. They go find him and then lock him up too. And we get I'm something of a scientist myself. So we get that, which I think is a little underappreciated, but I'm gonna take the time to appreciate it because it was pretty hilarious. Um, and then we get, as you were just mentioning, Johnny, the Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man fight because Doctor Strange wants to. They kind of like figure out that they're all gonna die. So the bullshit explanation for why they're all still alive, because obviously most of these villains have died in prior Spider-Man movies. So the explanation then is, which I think is fine, honestly. I was okay with this explanation, which is they were yanked from the timeline like right before Spider-Man killed them. But there was a little issue because the justification for why these villains were there was because they all knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and that ties into the screwed up spell that they were being drawn in from the multiverse because they all knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And another small plot hole that they had here was that I actually forgot this, but someone else pointed this out. Is that, or a lot of people pointed this out, I should say, is that Jamie Foxx's Electro never knew that Peter
Yeah,
Parker
you never
was
knew.
Spider-Man. So that was kind of a
You ever
fuck
do
up
what?
there. Jamie Foxx's Electro never knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, so it didn't make sense for him to be
Maybe he
there.
read it on the internet.
There you go. Well, no one knew that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man wasn't, his secret identity wasn't blown, so that doesn't factor in. Anyway.
Yeah, wait, no. You know who did know? The fucking Goblin. They should have brought back the Meth Goblin.
The Meth Goblin.
Two goblins.
Yeah.
I don't want that. Nobody wants that.
They could have. He knew. Why didn't he come?
Because
He couldn't find the actor. That's why. Because he's on meth.
That makes sense. I mean, he's not in real life, I'm sure, but
He's not.
yes.
He could be.
He's not.
He could be.
Oh God, you guys kill me.
How about that Idris Elba? You would think he should be James Bond? He's too old.
Yeah.
I think he's too old at all.
Is also, yeah.
He's like 48. He's only like 3 years younger
How
than
old
Daniel
is Daniel
Craig.
Craig?
Yeah, but he was just James Bond for like 6 movies. He's now leaving because he is too old. They're not gonna get a guy who's like 3 years younger than him.
Yeah, but but that guy's like all of his hair is white though.
Idris Elba?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Isn't that all like pretty much gray, white?
He was, dude. I didn't even realize. I know how stupid I am, but I didn't even realize that Idris Elba is freaking what the hell, the gatekeeper from Thor. What's his name?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I know
Heimdall.
him from.
I didn't realize he was Heimdall. I was like, I feel like an idiot because
How do you not
He's
realize
also,
that was him when that's the only thing I even know him from?
He's also going to be Knuckles in Sonic 2.
Oh Jesus!
Really?
Just the voice though in CGI, right?
How the mighty have fallen. So,
Actually, you know what?
hold on.
Sonic
Idris Elba is
wasn't
49. 49. Daniel Craig is 53. He's only 4 years younger. They're not going to pick him to be James Bond. He's too old. He's already older than the oldest actor who started as James Bond, who was, I think, Roger Moore.
Yeah, I mean, probably among other reasons that they won't pick him to be James Bond. But anywho, back to Spider-Man because this is about James Bond. Um, so yeah, the fight between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So I had okay, so here's a little bit of a problem that I had. So I had a little bit of problem with the fact that Spider-Man won this fight because if Spider-Man and Doctor Strange actually threw down, yes, no, I know he outsmarted him. I see what you're doing there, Sam. So, but that shouldn't even be a thing either. Like, Spider-Man should not be a match for Doctor Strange. But the only justification that I have for it is Doctor Strange was going easy on him because he didn't want to hurt him. He just wanted
Yeah,
to disable
get
him
the box back.
essentially, yeah, and get the box back so he could finish the spell to send everybody back to their own time, because that was what the fight was about, was that he wanted to send them all back and close the multiverse, which is responsible, which is what he should have done, what he wanted to do, and Spider-Man didn't because he knew it meant he was sending them all to their death. So he's, which makes sense too with the Spider-Man personality, because Spider-Man's not a killer and he doesn't want anyone to die. So that was all fine and made sense. The fight was pretty cool with the reality bending. It was very reminiscent of the first Doctor Strange movie where they did all the reality warping shit that was cool. So yeah, I don't know. Other than Spider-Man winning, but obviously Spider-Man had to win to further the plot of the movie.
I only have one real problem with the fight that kind of breaks logic in universe logic, and that was that after he like disembodied Spider-Man's spirit and he was still like moving his hand so he couldn't get the cube thing, like that made no fucking sense because the ancient one like knocked Hulk out of his body, and Hulk was like Hulk is way stronger than Spider-Man.
Here's why that does make sense. Two words: Spider Sense.
It's fucking bullshit though. It's bullshit.
Spider Sense.
Because why would he have the spider sense if he's disembodied and he's not conscious? It makes no sense.
Spider Sense. It shows that Spider Sense is a physical characteristic. Although, to agree with you partially, I think that the only part of that made a little not so much sense. Like the Spider Sense explanation makes perfect sense to me, but the only nitpick I have with that is that they haven't really shown, aside from the whole Mysterio sequence in the prior movie, like they haven't really shown like the Tom Holland Spider-Man to really lean heavily on and embrace the Spider Sense
No,
kind
but that was
of.
the point of the Mysterio thing. It was his
Yes.
spider sense being like very showing that he had developed it at that point. I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that. But I have a problem with that with what I just said, but I also have a problem with, as Juliet pointed out very astutely when we were watching the movie, he's like, "I'm going to use geometry to beat him," and she's like, "That's not geometry." she's like,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
just it's pattern recognition. It's not geometry.
yeah, I know. He should have just said math. That would have been more
Math,
accurate.
but yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
would have been.
even math. It's just fucking like pattern recognition.
Well, whatever. It was still funny. Like the fact that it was a funny joke that landed made me look over the fact that it was technically wrong what he said.
And
But
also, like you said, I think like Doctor Strange obviously going easy on him, and I think that was pretty well implied, because he's not trying to like kill him or anything. But I think it's a really like stretching my imagination to believe that Spider-Man could like stop Doctor Strange in any way. But like, I guess I can handle it.
yeah, like I said, it does push the boundaries. But like I said, if you compound him not wanting to hurt Spider-Man and going easy on him, and
And the fact that Spider-Man's both has faster reflexes and is physically stronger than Doctor Strange.
yeah, if you put it all together, I think it's passable for sure. Um,
Possible.
yeah.
It's how it's possible that like I could defeat Brock Lesnar in a UFC fight.
Only if he gets disqualified for juicing.
Exactly, yeah.
So, but yeah, Sam, thoughts on the Doctor Strange and Spider-Man fight?
I mean, what else is there to say?
I
Well,
don't
I don't
know.
know.
That's
That's why
why
we
I was
asked you,
asking
Sam.
you in
All right, you
stereo.
folks. I'm gonna go refill my beer. You folks keep talking.
Oh God. All right. So
God damn it.
okay, we can. All right. You should have had a better picture to put up if you were gonna do that. All right, so yeah, then we get to the next major plot point of the movie, which is where we have Spider-Man bringing everyone home with him because why not? You know, because you have a lab that's empty
Not.
now because Doctor Strange is not there. So rather than just keeping them there, which would have made total sense, you bring them home to Aunt May because why not? So, sure. I mean, it was fun. So it was playing to the humor, I guess. So I don't really have an issue with it, but in hindsight, not a good idea.
No. Happy was pretty pissed.
Yeah, I love that. He's like, "Where's somebody on my camera?" Oh, I love the continuation of the Happy and Aunt May romance is funny.
Where Happy's completely in love with her, and she's just like, nah,
Yeah, it's funny.
nah.
Exactly. No, it's fun. Like, I gotta be honest. When they first started that arc, I was kind of annoyed. I was just like, I don't care about this. But like, I, it grew on me. It really did grow on
Yeah.
me. So, um, but yeah, so they get to the next part where he develops, and it's an Aunt May inspired plan to fix them because they're broken, so to
Mhm.
cure all of
Mhm.
the villains, or in Ned's case, cure that ass, as he said later on. So yeah, Ned being funny, that's always a plus.
I
So
love
yeah,
Ned.
yeah, he's good comic relief. He really is. So yeah, then they go through and they actually do fix everybody, and it really. So for a second there, I didn't believe it, but like I was on the cusp of believing that, like, oh my god, everything's gonna work out. Like everybody's
You
gonna
know,
be.
me too.
I was on the cusp of it. I didn't fall for it, but I was on the cusp. I was like, this is gonna work. Like this
I was
is.
thinking it was possible that like everything was gonna kind of work out, but then like another villain was gonna show up and
Yeah,
disrupt
like
it.
the
Like Topher Grace's
like the
Venom would
six.
really
I was
ruin
Oh
waiting
every.
for the
god.
six.
It would, yeah. Topher Grace's Venom would really ruin it, just like he really ruined Spider-Man 3.
I was just gonna say he was gonna ruin it in more ways than one. So, um, but yeah, so then Willem Dafoe being the ultimate villain ruins it, which makes sense. Um, and so yeah, then they have the fight and the building, and everybody scatters, and so then we have something that actually shocked the hell out of me when it happened. So you have the scene with obviously the Green Goblin fighting Spider-Man, which was good. Good fight, and then you have
Major spoilers if
Aunt
you haven't
May
seen it.
trying to help, and the bomb goes off, and he can't get to it in time, and like when she got up. So okay, I'm gonna walk you through my thought process in this scene, because my Sam's face is funny. My this was my train of thought throughout this entire scene. So at first she gets up, and I'm like, okay, everything's good, and she's like, yeah, I'm good, and everything's good, and she's like, you just have to keep trying and all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, everything's fine, and she looks wobbled, but I'm like, everything's fine, this is good, and then when she's talking to him, and she's like, with great power comes great
Oh yeah.
responsibility. I was like, I kind of got
Yep.
like the hair stood up on the back of my neck a little bit,
Yep.
and I was like, no, they're not gonna kill Aunt May. Like,
Yep.
what? And then like she starts to fall over, and I'm like, no, like this can't happen. Like, there's no way that they're doing this. And then a couple minutes later, she's dead. And and I'm like,
Oh, I was
what?
a goner.
I'm sure you were a mess watching that.
Oh my
So
god.
I was literally like the second like she was like involved, I was like she's gonna die. That was literally like because I was like she's not that important of a character. Like there's got to
what?
be like some emotional weight to this. No, I know Aunt May is an important character, but Marissa Tomei's Aunt May isn't. Like she was never portrayed as being particularly important in the series. Like she never was portrayed because like in actual Spider-Man, Aunt May like really helps and supports Peter. In the movies, I mean, like the old. Who's the lady who played her in the Tobey Maguire ones? She was way more.
She's a
There was way
well-known
more.
British actress who, by the way, is still alive at the ripe old age of like 94, I think.
Did you hear
So
Vince McMahon's mom just died like last week? She was like 101.
she was still alive.
Yeah, his mom was still alive up until like 2 weeks ago.
That's crazy. But
She
no,
was
but the lady who
101. So
played.
WWE still has another 30 years of Vince. But the
Oh God, just retire, Vince,
the point is,
please.
I'm just saying, like
Retire.
I was like, she's gonna die because they need like a death, and she's like not that. She's a little important, but she's not that important. Like not as important as like other Aunt May, or as Aunt May should be. She had a very minor role in the movies, to be honest. So like she's gonna die because it would seemingly mean something, but in reality it really wouldn't. And Marissa Tomei probably does not give a shit about this job anyway. So
So
yeah.
interesting take. I actually kind of agree with parts of what you said. So I agree with you that the Marissa Tomei Aunt May is 100% not portrayed the same way, obviously, as the I don't I feel sad because I don't know her name because I thought she was actually, if we're talking about unsung perfect casting choices for movies, that lady who was Aunt May in the Tobey Maguire trilogy was actually perfect.
Rosemary Harris. I remember her name. Rosemary Harris.
There it is. Yeah. So she was actually perfect for Aunt May, and she played like a perfect comic book Aunt May. Like she was there to support Peter and guide him and like tell him the right thing. And actually, like, because I just rewatched it like a few weeks ago, the scene in Spider-Man 3 where she talks to him after he thinks that he killed the Sandman when he's Black Suit Spider-Man, and he's like, "Yeah, I got great news. You know, Spider-Man killed that guy who killed Uncle Ben," and she's like, "You know, I don't understand. Like, Spider-Man doesn't kill people," and like she talks, all about that, and it kind of like it the words carry a lot of weight and like the wisdom that's and the taking the high road. And that's where, if you think about it, like, because classic Spider-Man is like one of the most forgiving, and also doesn't kill people, merciful heroes, and he really gets that from Aunt
Hold
May,
on. Batman doesn't kill people. Batman is a candy ass.
whatever.
And that's what I'm talking
I'm
about.
just gonna, I don't know what you're talking about actually, but I'm gonna disregard that. Really?
Yeah.
Is that from
How many people do you think that Joker, that insane clown, has killed because he broke out of jail because Batman was too much of a pussy to finish him off?
where is that from? I feel like I should know this.
Peacemaker.
Oh, I didn't watch it yet, but I hear it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really good.
yeah, I'll probably watch it eventually when I find a way to. Um, but yeah, so, but yeah, so the Marissa Tomei Aunt May, they I disagree with you where I said where you're saying she wasn't important, because she was important to the Tom Holland Spider-Man in a different way. So she was like like supportive, but in a different way, because obviously the classic comic Aunt May doesn't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and the fact that she did made the relationship different. But like I still feel like she was portrayed as an important guiding force with him, and I think in this movie more specifically, because in the previous two Tom Holland Spider-Mans, I don't think that they did as good of a job. Like she didn't have as much of an important role as far as like the guiding Spider-Man role, you know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like it was like she did much, or that it was that important in those movies. But in this one they really did more to drive that point home, and looking back on it in hindsight, I think that's because they were planning on killing her, obviously. But I think in this movie, especially like when they let her deliver the line, and it was so such a big moment, at least for me anyway, because I was thinking like it never even occurred to me, like, obviously because they skipped over the whole Uncle Ben thing in the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe, so it didn't even occur to me that, like, oh my god, this is something that could happen. That's why when she said it in the movie, I was like, no, this is this universe's version of that. Like, it was a little mind
Yeah.
blowing. I'm not gonna lie, but it really worked. Like it landed and worked very well. So I really thought that whole thing, the way they did that whole thing, went off perfectly. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it went off perfectly.
I thought it was perfect.
And since John is not saying anything, I'm going to take
I
it.
thought it was okay.
All right. So moving on. So then we get to the part that everyone had been waiting for, obviously. Because I know
Yes,
I
and
was.
that
The part where we find
part.
out
Hold on.
what a filthy, no good, lying piece of shit Andrew Garfield
Right?
is.
Right?
Yes, because
It's photoshopped,
yes, he lied through his teeth about. And you know what the funny thing is that I watched an interview with him afterward, and his justification or his logic was like, "Oh, I just pretend." To me, it was like I was planning a surprise party and I wasn't supposed to tell anybody and shit. And I was like, I
Like,
guess, man, whatever you got to do to sleep at night, you know. But you know what? I appreciate it. I do. I appreciate you going to great lengths to ensure that I was surprised, or I mean, not surprised, but because I think it was safe to assume at that point that the other Spider-Men were going to appear. But
Yeah,
um,
especially that little goof in the trailer.
yes, actually, I don't know if you saw this.
what?
So in the trailer for where they had the scene of um,
I
it's
think it was
San
the Japanese trailer.
no, it was somewhere in South America. I think it was like Peru or something like that. I don't.
Oh yeah.
So in that trailer, they didn't edit it properly. So in the one scene where they have Spider-Man, like in the movie, it's the scene where all three Spider-Man are lunging at the Lizard, the Sandman, and Electro, and they're all coming forward. But in the trailer, there's only Holland's Spider-Man and then the three villains, but in the trailer they don't cut it fast enough, so the Lizard like flies back a little bit for like a
Yeah,
split
you see him
second.
getting
You see
knocked.
him getting like hit by air, essentially like punched in the trailer for a split second, and that was the tip off to everybody that obviously they edited a Spider-Man out of that frame punching him. So yeah, but we all knew, I think, just from a pure
Maybe
story.
Matter Eater Lad was there.
I don't know who that is, but um, I will say, from a pure storytelling perspective, it was pretty obvious to everybody. I think that
What I want to know is
Maguire
how
was
did
gonna.
Andre Garf? I
Yeah,
want to know is how did Andre Garfunkel get out of being a priest in Japan with Kylo Ren quick enough to get back to their universe and be Spider-Man?
I'm sure that's a joke that I don't get.
And
Do you
you
get
tell me
this?
nobody else has seen the 2016 film Silence, where Adam Driver and Andrew Garfield play they play Catholic priests in Japan in the 17th century.
Sam, you're a fan
No,
of
I
awful
haven't seen
movies.
it.
You never
Really?
saw it.
You're a fan of awful movies, though, so you didn't. Okay, gotcha. All right, so not this one. Gotcha. So yeah, so anyway, back to the point. Enter. I think this whole scene again. I'm just gonna say this with this scene. I thought it was perfectly executed once again because Ned does the thing and he's like, "Oh, I have because he mentioned about having wizards in his family or some bullshit." And
Yeah,
he stole Doctor Strange's ring and then he starts doing the thing and the portal comes out and you see Spider-Man in the distance because they're looking. He's like, "Find Spider-Man." And you see Spider-Man in the distance, and it's not. Like instantly when I saw him, I was like, "Okay, they're gonna save Maguire. This is gonna be Andrew Garfield first, obviously." And then he comes through, and you can hear the voice, and you can hear it's him. And I'm like, "Oh man, I was never so happy to see Andrew Garfield. Like
yeah, it was
even in the
great.
other Spider-Man movies that he was Spider-Man, I wasn't that happy to see him. But like in this one, I was like, wow, this is great. But I thought this whole thing was perfectly done, perfectly executed. It was very humorous, and it brought them in probably the best way possible, in my opinion.
When Zendaya or MJ is trying to like prove it, you know, walk on the ceiling, crawl.
Yes. And it was so perfect that it was fucking the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Like it wouldn't have worked if it was Maguire, but like
No,
with
definitely
Andrew
not.
Garfield because Andrew Garfield is like the runt of the Spider-Man litter and everybody knows it. And that's another thing that I'm going to bring up now since we're talking about Andrew Garfield is like he took it on the chin so much in this movie, but he took it like a champ. Like there were so many jokes at his expense in this movie, and he just rolled with them, and it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So this was the intro to that, and then they do the thing where they, fucking out of the shadows comes Bully Maguire. The only thing, and you
He's
know what?
not Bully
He
Maguire.
still is, and I got a Bully Maguire. I don't know if you did, John, but I got a Bully Maguire vibe from this moment of like when he like struts through the portal, kind of like I got a little bit of like the
That's
Bully
just because
Maguire vibe.
Tobey Maguire is Bully Maguire in real life. What I was really disappointed about was that why was Nicholas Hammond given the snub? Why was he not included as well?
Who? I don't know who that is.
Nicholas Hammond, the original Spider-Man from the 1970s television series, when he played Peter Parker.
Is
He's
he
like
still
he's like
alive?
75. Yeah, he's still alive. He's like 75. He could have been old man Spider-Man. He's like, oh my back. He'd be like, you're telling me about your back.
Oh my god, we didn't even get there yet. No.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
He's hold on. He's
I
still
have to
alive.
see this movie again.
He's
Yeah.
71.
Same.
He's 71.
So, all right, let's just get it out of the way now. So, toward the fight scene at the end, and he's like stretching on the fucking railing, and Garfield of all people, he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Ah, it's my back. It's all stiff. It's probably from all. It's just my back."
Here, crack it. Come here.
Oh my! And then that whole sequence was also perfect. The whole cracking the back thing for him, that was absolutely perfect. Um, that like I feel
Yeah.
like, and I'm gonna say this about a lot of the funny scenes in the movie. Like I feel like if I was just sitting there in the writing room, like that's what I would have come up with, and that's why like it was just so. I mean, they probably did it better than I could have, obviously, because I'm not like a writer officially, but um, yeah, it was so funny. Like, oh my god, it was wow. Like there was so much of that in this movie that it's hard to even name them all. But that was a big one for me. Was the back, and then we get the pointing. We got two different pointing memes in the Spider-Man pointing meme. You know what I'm talking about. We got one in the lab, and then we got one while they were like developing the
On the
cures.
scaffolding.
Yes, and then on the scaffolding when they were like, "Oh man, we're really not good at working together," like despite being the
Spider-Man
same.
1. Spider-Man 2.
It's like Peter 3, like fucking Andrew Garfield again. Another perfect moment of Andrew Garfield being taking it on the chin for the team. But yeah, so I think that I'm gonna say that probably everything else from here till the end of the movie was really well done. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Like the whole sequence of like they fucking they introduce both the Spider Mans in a comic fashion with fucking MJ and Ned, and then they fucking Ned's grandma and all that humor, and then when they introduce them to the Tom Holland Spider Man because he's obviously like over the edge because fucking Aunt May just died and like they kind of bring him back and like they talk him down and like having it's kind of cool because like you have the moment of them talking to him because he's supposed to be like the younger version of Spider-Man obviously, and it's like they
Mhm.
have already lived through like all the big losses and stuff that fucking he hasn't, so like they're trying to help him, and it's cool because it's cool from that perspective, but it's also cool from a fan perspective too because it's like you're now getting like to appreciate all of the stuff that happened in those prior Spider-Man movies that's now being a factor in these movies, which is really cool, I think. Um, so yeah, and fucking so then I don't know if you have anything you want to add, John.
Not from where we are.
No, the introduction of all the Spider-Men.
Willem Dafoe be getting the shit. Oh yeah, keep going. We didn't get to that
We're
part.
not
Willem
quite there
Dafoe
yet.
beating
All
the
right,
shit
so
out
we'll
of
get to
Tom
the
Holland.
end finally. We'll finally get to
Because
the
there's
end.
everything, it was perfect. It was great. It was everything I would have wanted.
I agree.
Nah,
So,
I disagree.
so all right.
I'm
So in what
talking
way?
about them coming in.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the introduction of the Spider-Man could have been done much better.
Well, that's what I was talking to you about, and you were like, "Oh, I don't have anything to say about that."
I didn't say that.
Okay, we'll
Play
shoot.
back. Come on, Jay. Play back the tape.
All right, we'll shoot then. Tell me what you have to say about that.
You're telling me they could have done something better than having them come into their living room? Come on. It could have been like, it could have like all the Spider-Man met up and started fighting or something because they thought they were all like enemies or something, right? Or they could have had like, I don't
What
know,
sense would that have made?
Tobey
Yeah.
Maguire like slide in like, shh. What do you mean? What sense it would have made? He's dealing with all these
Why would they fight
multiversal.
themselves? Like what?
Yeah, because he's dealing with all the multiversal people. Like they don't know what the fuck is happening. How would they know that
Makes
they're
sense.
all
They
like friends?
knew.
I mean, you'd probably know who you were. I would just assume.
No, it doesn't make any sense. Like how they would be like, oh shit, there's like other Spider-Man on some weird world. How do I know that they're like not my enemy?
Uh, maybe. I mean,
That's
I
what should
I mean,
guess.
happen.
I'm gonna go with the spider sense because, you know,
That's a cop out.
spoiler. When when Willem Dafoe goes and turns, he knew it was coming. He felt it, so he would
Yes.
feel if the other two were bad.
You got a Peter
Am I
Tingle.
wrong?
Yeah, Peter Tingle. There you go.
The Peter Tinkle story.
No, it's fine. No, we're using the non-technical term for it.
Here's the thing: is if they all thought that the others were like a threat, but they didn't know, and it was a misunderstanding, then all of their spider senses would have went off.
You're thinking too much about that, though. I think this is you overthinking that a little too much.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying they would have had to do that, but it would have been a better way to introduce them than like, hey, I'm in your living room. Let me make a Doctor Strange portal and come up with some bullshit plot device for why we can quickly get these Spider-Man into this already crowded movie.
So here's the thing: is I appreciate the way they did it because it was taking the humorous way out, and
I'm not a big fan of things that seem like overly forced just for plot convenience.
I didn't think it was forced at all.
It didn't seem forced to me. It seemed so to me. It seemed like they had just had this really serious moment where Aunt May dies, so
Yeah.
they needed
Let's
and they
bookend
were
it with some
running
classic
low on
Marvel
time.
humor to ruin the mood.
It didn't ruin the mood. It changed it. It signified the end of that act and the
It's
moving on to
fucking
the next
stupid.
act. So they ended.
It's too jarring. This is the problem that Marvel has in many movies is they have too many jarring juxtapositions with things that don't make sense. And when you combine that with the fact that it was just a contrivance for plot convenience, I'm not a big fan. And the more you're talking about it, the less I like it. Because like I said, they could have made it that the Spider-Man, like, it could have been like, oh, maybe Tobey Maguire like saw this happening and maybe he like tried to help and got his ass kicked, right? Or maybe like or maybe like Andrew Garfield see Spider-Man like tries to go after the villains on his own and then he gets, I don't know, something else could have happened that would have been more interesting than them just showing up in their living room.
So yes and no. So I do think something you said about them starting to run low on time at this point in the movie did play a factor because like yes they had been a lot of time spent already doing all this other stuff. So, and also it wouldn't have, I will say this though, at that point in the movie, like bringing them in as an adversary to Tom Holland wouldn't have made sense because Tom Holland's like already down and defeated. So what he needed at that
That
point.
would have made sense though, because he is already down and defeated, and then the fuckers come after him, and he's even more.
The
like,
kicking when him down, he's down doesn't work here. It doesn't work.
Spider-Man always gets kicked when he's down. That's like his character. He's a fucking loser.
Yeah, but not by
Spider-Man
himself. Not by himself.
Well,
Like
it could happen this time because
by
it's
J. Jonah
multiverse.
Jameson, sure, but not by fucking himself.
Spider-Man
So,
can never catch a break. That's like part of his character.
that is true, which is going to come into play late at the end of this movie, of course, obviously. So anyway, moving on from that.
Like I said, there's a lot of ways they could have made this much more interesting rather than just like I think it was it's such a lazy. And especially because both Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire showed up at like the same time in the same way. Like imagine if like all this what's that?
You mean Maguire and Garfield?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like imagine if like just all of a sudden they're just like on the bridge and like okay, here's Doc Ock and the Lizard and Green Goblin are all just standing on the bridge for some reason together. That would have been so stupid, right?
So yes, and yes, I do think so. Initially, what I was thinking is that he was going to come in, that the other Spider-Man were going to come in not right next to each other, and they were going to come in during fight scenes. Which yes, that would have been great.
Or that even that would have been like the other like lazy way of doing it. But even that would have been more interesting and taken more effort.
I like the way that I'm just gonna say I like the way they did it because they did it in a humorous way that lightened the mood after a very serious moment in the movie. So I
have to
think it
nitpick
worked.
this
I needed it.
movie because you are all overly positive. I have to nitpick.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. So anyway, moving on, we're gonna get to the end. So the end is, of course, they have the final fight and they develop like all the cures for all the bad guys and shit. Somehow, because they all have all the intelligence and stuff. So they get the cures and then they have the final fight, and that's it. You know, it works out great because as we already alluded to, some of the stuff like with the humor, with the back and everything, and then also we have them not working well together in the beginning, and then it's like, and then Holland is like, yeah, you know, I was in a group called the Avengers, so like we could, Andrew Garfield.
That
He's like, is that a band? Were you in a band? Oh my god! It's like, see, that's another like overall point that I will make later, but like I gained a lot of appreciation for Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man than I ever had before for him. But anyway.
I really didn't think I've only seen clips of Amazing Spider-Man 2 and I saw Amazing Spider-Man 1. I really didn't think he was that bad. Like even back then I was like
I loved him.
I thought he was all right.
So I didn't think he was awful, but he was.
My opinion on him hasn't really changed. I don't love him, but I think my opinion on him hasn't really changed much. He's still I honestly might like him better than Tom Holland though, because Tom Holland is like Spider Boy slash Iron Man Jr.
Look at little Iron Man Jr. Want to cry?
And I can't
It's
respect
Bully
a
McGuire.
man. I can't respect a man who's shorter than his girlfriend on the in the movie.
That's that old world talk you got going on here.
A little bit.
That's very un-Canadian of you. But
It's
anyway,
tough. No, I'm just saying because as a superhero, it just doesn't look good when his girlfriend's taller than him.
so it does it. So optically, it is a little strange. I'll give you that. It is
Because
strange.
no, it would be cool if he was like dating the She-Hulk, and like the point is that she's tough and he's not. But like, she's supposed to just be a fucking normal person.
Her taller than Tony.
Is she?
I don't know. No. So actually,
At least a little bit.
no. That's interesting. You should say that because I'm pretty sure Gwyneth Paltrow is either the same height or slightly taller than Robert Downey Jr. But
He
they
wears lifts.
yes, but they purposefully make him wear lifts and have her not wear shoes when they're in a lot of like you notice that when they're in a lot of scenes together, she's wearing like
Yeah.
flats and not wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they could have
That's
done the
fine
same
again
thing.
because on screen they're doing it to make it like more visually appear like that. I'm just saying like the optics of it don't quite look right.
That's fair. I'll say that's fair. So, um, but anyway, yeah. So
But also apparently RDJ is super insecure about his height because he's only like 5'6.5" or something.
well, whatever. He's fucking Robert Downey, so whatever. He's
He's allowed.
well, I was
Five
gonna say
seven. I think he's like 5'7" maybe.
he doesn't have to be tall to be the man, but anyway.
No.
Um, so yeah, and then so the final fight scene, I really liked it, and how they like brought Doctor Strange in the middle, and how they got fucking MJ and Ned involved with the fucking portals, and he's like, yeah, I don't know how to close it, I just know how to open it, and so that actually leads us to a really cool moment in the movie. So the fact that they get there, and then you have like you have like a replay kind of moment where MJ falls, which is obviously like the callback to when fucking Gwen falls in the Amazing
When? Yep.
Spider-Man 2, and fucking Holland can't get to her. So it like for I never thought they were gonna kill her, obviously, but like for a split second when Holland fucking there was a split second gap in between when I saw that Holland wasn't gonna be able to save her, when I was like, I wonder what's gonna happen, and then instantly I was like, Garfield's gonna save her, and then he swoops in and
Oh yeah.
saves her, and
He
I
gets
was
that
like,
redemption moment.
yeah, exactly. So that was really good. That was really cool, and that's reoccurring theme here too. Is everybody, not just the heroes but the villains too, get their redemption, which ends up being really cool. So Andrew Garfield gets
When was the
his,
Sandman's redemption?
that he got cured.
Yeah.
So
But he was an asshole up until that moment.
whatever,
It's
close
like
enough.
it's like this guy got his redemption because we stopped him from killing people, and then that wasn't a redemption.
When I say everybody, I mean more the main characters. So maybe not the Sandman specifically, but
What about the freaking Green Goblin? He was like stabbing Tobey Maguire right before he died.
so the juxtaposition, that was the second redemption moment that I was going to get to. So it was more of a redemption for Toby than it was for Willem for Green Goblin, because so then you get to that scene where Tom Holland just like shows up, and he just outright states, he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you. And then he goes after him and just beats him down, as you said before. And then he is about to, and then of course Bully Maguire saves the day like he always does, and he shows up. And so this scene was more about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man redemption, because and this was actually something that I didn't think about a lot until reflecting on this movie. But if you think back to the Tobey Maguire trilogy, he was kind of carrying for the whole trilogy the fact that indirectly it was his fault that that the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin died, and that weighed on him, and it like ruined his friendship with Harry, obviously, and it really it really fucked everything up and fucked his life up. And that was kind of like, I think, an underappreciated like subplot in the original Spider-Man trilogy that I kind of thought about a lot more after this. So this was like the redemption of that, essentially, was him jumping in and saving Green
He never
Goblin.
actually killed Willem Dafoe
I said
or Norman Osborn.
indirectly, yes.
He killed
Yeah.
himself. He
Yeah.
was trying to kill him. He
Yes,
just got out of the way.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't justified, because it was justified in the movie the way they did it. It was, but he still blamed himself for it, and he still felt like it was his fault.
Well, they resolved that in Spider-Man 3 when Harry said the butler goes like, "These were self-inflicted wounds." Remember?
Yeah, I do remember that. Yes.
Butler
So
resolved it, and then him and Harry made up before Harry died anyway, so that was already resolved.
yeah, no, that
I feel
part
like
of it.
this movie. That's actually kind of another problem I have with this movie is I feel like it dug up like resolved plot threads from the other Spider-Man movies, and then kind of like negated the character developments that happened in the other movies.
Well, I wouldn't go that far because so. Yes, I agree with you. Like the between Harry and the um fucking Toby Maguire Spider-Man.
Or like
Yes.
Doc Ock, he was fucking redeemed already. He was redeemed because he destroyed the device, saved New York. Is at the end of Spider-Man 2, and
Right, but
he
this
sacrificed himself for that. Like this movie just kind of like undid a lot of that. I'm not saying I don't like this movie, but like it undid a lot of this stuff just for this excuse of like, oh look, it's Alfred Molina's Doc Ock.
So I think that what their goal was here was to try and like it wasn't about the redemption for the villain, it was about the redemption for the hero because it goes back to Spider-Man
Topher
doesn't.
Grace Venom though, he never was redeemed for shit. He got
Yeah, but
blown
nobody
up.
wanted to fucking see him as Venom again, so that's why he didn't show up.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Again, from a story perspective, it doesn't make sense. The only reason they did it is from a money perspective and or fan boys and girls like you two.
I like to
Eat it
think of
up.
it. I like to
Eat
think
it
of
up
it.
like it's pudding.
Hold on a second. I like to think of it as a combination of both. So I yes,
I'm
obviously
just
it's
pointing
money
out the
making.
obvious flaws in the plot of this movie and the fact that they took, like I said, plot points that were resolved and or progressed from previous movies and either like reversed them or negated them or just ignored them.
So my take on that is that to me it was more of that they expounded upon them and not that they really reversed them or retracted them because what you're saying is true in the sense that yes, the villains did have like so when it comes to Doc Ock, like yes, he in Spider-Man 2 before he died had his moment of redemption where he sacrificed himself to so that the city wouldn't get destroyed. And yes, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the fucking Harry thing was resolved in Spider-Man 3 between them, but you have to understand at the same time there's still the lagging guilt on the part of Tobey Maguire in the sense that these were people who were his friends that
That's a
turned
cop out.
that
Yeah.
he couldn't
Er,
save them. Yeah, that he couldn't save them before. Like he
Yeah.
wanted to save Willem Dafoe. He couldn't. He wanted to save Doc Ock. He
Or even the
couldn't.
Sandman. Didn't the Sandman at the end of Spider-Man 3 kind of like realize the error of his ways?
Yeah, he did, and that was resolved. So this was whatever. I'm not worried about it. He
And
wasn't
then they
even
just walked it back.
whatever. He wasn't
It's
even there,
dumb.
so I don't care about that because he wasn't even there. I'm talking about the main villains. So
And I don't know about the Lizard because I don't remember Amazing Spider-Man, and I don't know about Electro because I never saw Amazing Spider-Man
so
2.
I'm discounting the Lizard and Sandman because they got snubbed A and B. They weren't even the actors weren't even there. So I don't
What
care
about
about
Electro?
that.
What happened to him? I never saw Spider-Man 2.
So he died in the Amazing
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 also. And again, he was kind of the
And he
Andrew
never
Garfield.
knew who Peter Parker was, apparently.
Right, so that was a mistake. But he was still no. He didn't.
These
know
are they're
no,
all
no, no, no,
mistakes.
no.
If you
Hold on,
if you
hold on,
examine
hold on,
any
hold
of these too deeply, they're all mistakes.
on. Hold on. He did know Peter
They should
Parker.
got Venom.
Wait,
What
He
would
knew
have really
Peter
made-
Parker.
he knew
what would have
Peter
really made
Parker.
sense-
He was friends with Peter Parker. He was not. He did not know
Friends.
Peter Parker was
Yeah.
Spider-Man. So, and again,
It
it was
would
the
have made
same
sense.
situation. It was the same situation with Electro as it was with Electro and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was the same situation as it was with Tobey Maguire and Green Goblin and Doc Ock. Is that he knew them when they weren't bad, they turned bad, and they died, and he felt bad because he couldn't save him. So this was not redemption for the villains, but it was redemption for the Spider-Men with the villains because Spider-Man always tries to save everybody. And again,
Spin it however you want. The point is,
it's not a
this does not
spin.
negate the
That's
points
the
I'm making.
story. That's
Does not
the
negate the points I'm making. And on
that's
top
the
of that,
storytelling.
the real way that it should have been, if it would have been real storytelling, it would have been Topher Grace Venom, Meth Goblin. Who are the villains who weren't redeemed?
fucking Stark Tech Rhino. Yeah,
Stark Tech Rhino, yeah, that
Poor
fucker.
Rhino.
That fucker.
but we saw him. We saw him toward the end, kind of. I think
Really?
in the sky. We saw
okay,
we saw
sure.
his silhouette in the sky, which we're gonna get.
Oh, I must have missed that.
So those three. Who else? Who else were the unresolved or the
Scorpion was in.
They didn't bring in Scorpion. Scorpion was in well, they didn't bring any of the Holland Spider-Man villains back, so we can
Yeah,
just
but that's because they were already
Thinking they
dead
were
in that
gonna
movie.
Yeah.
bring back
the Vulture,
yeah. But
Mysterio.
You know, that would have made sense because Vulture's still alive.
Yeah, he's in prison. He's
yeah,
actually
Vulture's in prison.
he's in
Yeah.
Morbius.
So, you know,
He's
he
in Morbius.
Vulture could have showed up and been the last member of the Sinister Six.
Yeah,
It would have made
That's
sense.
what I was expecting to
It
happen.
actually, unlike a lot of other things in this movie, that actually would have made sense.
it would have made sense. You're right. Although he might have been on better terms with Tom Holland Spider-Man, so he might have actually been on Tom Holland Spider-Man's side.
Yeah, because he
Why?
was
Why?
protecting him or whatever in
He
prison at the end
he was
of.
protecting him in jail.
Yeah.
He was.
In the end credit
Walter.
scene of Spider-Man Homecoming, you have Scorpion and the Vulture are in jail, and Scorpion said that he heard a rumor that Vulture knew who Spider-Man was, and he has people on the outside that are going to go find him and kill him. And then Vulture says he doesn't know who he is, so he's like protecting him essentially at that point
Yep.
because
Yeah,
he
because
owes
he's
him.
saving him for himself. He's saving him for himself.
Well, that's one
No.
way that's one way to put it. But my take, the way that I interpreted that scene, was that he feels like he owes him for saving his life, so he wanted to protect him for that. Because he did say earlier in that movie when
But you don't know that.
no, but he said earlier in that movie when he found out that Spider-Man saved his daughter's life and he found out that Peter was Spider-Man, he said he takes that seriously, and that's why he wasn't just going to kill him right then and there, was because he felt like he owed him for that. So it makes sense that he would also feel like he owed him for saving his life later. So it would
Maybe,
make
but
sense.
they never. That's like a kind of a jump in logic. I think he was just saving Spider-Man for himself. And uh, my other points all still stand.
Again,
Also, no, you know who else they could have got? They could have got who else was a bad guy in the Tobey Maguire? But they could have got New Goblin. No, that was already resolved. He was fine. Who else was a heel in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man?
Venom. That's
Spider-Man 2, the only villain was Doc Ock, right? Weren't any other villains at all in that movie.
Yeah, it was Doc Ock in 2, Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin in 1, and then in 3 it was Sandman, Venom, and fucking New Goblin again.
Yeah, but there was no other villain besides Doc Ock was literally the only.
Yeah, he
at
was
all.
the only one in the second one.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
So
Anyways,
so anyway, to get to the end of the movie, so I still think it makes. I'm going to maintain that those plot points still make sense to me because of what I said. Is it's not about redeeming the villains because they did have their redemption moments in prior movies. It's about redeeming the heroes for not being able to save them, which they were able to go back and save them. And they even have the moment with Garfield and Electro after he saves him, and he's like, that's when you get the Miles Morales teaser, where he's like, oh man, I was just disappointed.
I don't know why he's not here yet. There is a setup for him. Where's Miles Morales?
They haven't picked an actor to play him yet, probably. That's why. But I'm sure he'll be in live action sooner rather than later.
Jaden Smith.
That wouldn't be terrible, honestly. That actually wouldn't be that bad. That wouldn't be that bad, honestly. So, but yeah. So, and then they have. I thought it was interesting though, going back to the end where they have fucking Tobey Maguire swoop in and save Willem Dafoe, and then like Willem Dafoe stabs him in the back, and it's just
worried for a split second.
Actually,
I was worried.
So was I too, and like everybody I was watching the movie with too was just like, wait a second, Toby's gonna die, and then we all kind of like for a split second, then we were kind of like, wait, he's Spider-Man, he's not gonna die from getting stabbed with a fucking knife,
Yeah, especially when it's like I've been stabbed before.
It's stabbed through the heart. I was like, when that happened, I was like, you know what my reaction was? I was like, I literally don't care because Tobey Maguire is not coming back for another Spider-Man movie. That was my reaction.
I think he will.
So for a split second, that's why I thought they might just kill him for a split second, because I agree with you there, is he probably won't come back for another one. But then I was like, he's fucking Spider-Man. And then I remembered back to like the one good thing that Andrew Garfield did as Spider-Man when he was like, oh, you found my weakness, small knives, to the fucking crook. And then I was like, oh no, it is his weakness. He's finished. So, and then I was like, no, he's fucking Bully Maguire. He's not going to die.
That wasn't the only thing. Andrew Garfunkel had some pretty good ones.
Well, whatever. You didn't even fucking watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so your opinion of Andrew Garfield would...
Your opinion is invalid.
No, it's not
based
invalid.
off the first one.
It would be much lower had you have actually watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But anyway, so they tie it up in a bow, and then we get many teasers for future things to come, which is where the portal blows open in the sky, and Doctor Strange is back, and he's trying to contain it, and he's like, we get all the silhouettes of all the potential future Spider-Man characters slash villains, and most of them. So I actually watched a YouTube video on this where they kind of freeze framed and zoomed in, and they tried to figure out who everybody was. Um, the two of them I think that were the most obvious, and everybody says this, and I knew this even without um, watching this video or slowing it down, were the one that looked like the Rhino, obviously, um, and then there was one that looked like Craven the Hunter, which would make
Which we
sense
know is
also.
coming.
Yeah, because we all actually there were a lot of rumors that they were going to just drop Craven the Hunter into this movie, so obviously that's going to be something that happens in the future, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there were a lot of other creative ideas. Like they said, one of them actually did. Some people had said one of them looked like the Miles Morales Spider-Man, and one of them apparently to people looked like Spider Gwen too.
Oh,
And then,
please.
man, it might happen. You never know. I mean, they're
I love
I think
obviously
they bring back
Spider-Gwen.
Emma Stone to play Spider Gwen.
That's what I was hoping for this too.
that would have been
Give us
asking too much
Spider-Gwen.
for this movie. But you never. I mean, I think this movie really, and this is the bigger picture point that I'm going to get to in a second, is that this movie kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah,
I'm entertaining myself.
this camera thing was a bad idea,
A little bit.
definitely. But that's okay. So it was a special occasion. So so yeah, another one. Going back to the silhouettes, another one that people were saying a lot was Scorpion.
Black Widow.
Was another one.
Scorpio Sky.
No, not Too Cold
Scorpion
Scorpio.
in the Sky.
Too Cold Scorpio.
Who calls Scorpion? Black
Yeah,
Funk.
so then we get to, I guess this is the last thing that's kind of a little bit to me as far as like uh logic and storytelling, is that I what I can only assume is in a panic Tom Holland's just like, "Oh, make everybody like when Doctor Strange is trying to close the portals, he's just like, "Oh, make everybody forget that I exist and that'll like make them all go away." And then
Hmm.
they're like, "Okay." And it's like, so again, it's a little bit of a stretch for me as far as like plot goes, because it's like, yeah, like like I get maybe in the moment that seemed like a good idea, but like really, like that's all you got, you know what I mean? Like there's no other way to stop this than ruining your life forever, you know?
Yeah,
Like
why didn't like Bruce Banner show up and he was like Hulk smash and then he just smashed everybody.
yeah, he could have just smashed Craven and Rhino
He just
and
smashed
Scorpion and
like billions
everybody.
of people out of the sky.
Could have, but he wasn't there. His arm's still in a sling. He's still hurting for certain.
Or they'll be like, we're gonna transport the entire planet into a different area, and then all these people are just gonna explode
He's hurting for certain.
in space. We're just gonna leave them in space for an hour, and they're all gonna die, and then we'll move the planet back into the correct spot.
Sure. But yeah, so they do that. But obviously, the reason that I do look the other way on this a little bit is because even though it is a little bit sketchy as far as making sense within the story, obviously they're doing this to set the table for probably another Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy down the road a little ways, where, and I think you would actually appreciate this, John, because I know this was one of your complaints, one of your biggest complaints about the Tom Holland Spider-Man was that he didn't have to scratch and claw for everything, and he wasn't like the everyman underdog hero the way that.
He was
And
little.
he does now.
He was little Iron Man Junior.
Yes, exactly. But now they basically hit
Damn.
the reset button on the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So now he's
Yep.
got to pay his rent. He's got to find a way to pay his rent, which might include like taking photos for J. Jonah Jameson at the Bugle. So I hope so. We can only hope. So I really, well, like it might not make perfect sense in story that how they did this. I am willing to appreciate it and look the other way just because it sets the table for everything else to come. And so at the end, you obviously get him moving into the apartment by himself. And a new suit, which is every new suit that Tom Holland gets as Spider Man looks more and more like an older Spider Man suit somehow.
Yeah, that's the classic Spider-Man suit now.
Yeah, we were reset, and so the movie ends, and of course, we have like the him and MJ parting, which obviously, this gets to what I said earlier, which is, and you should appreciate this too, John, is that it feeds to the theme of Spider-Man that he always gets screwed. He can never get ahead. He always
Hmm.
loses. It takes a long time for him to actually have a happy ending, and this is just the next phase of him getting it stuck to him essentially. So, losing
In the
everything.
script, MJ recognizes him at the end, like a very small hint of recognition. So I don't know how long
Oh,
that's gonna last.
no,
But
she never recognized him.
That's just a fan
yeah,
theory.
it's in the
Yeah,
script.
in
It's
the
not in
No,
the
the
script.
writer spoke
According
about
to
it.
who?
Are you talking about just because she looks at him kind of like sideways when he comes in the
It's
coffee shop?
it's written in the script.
It wasn't actually. No. Okay, there's a lot of things that are in the script that aren't actually
Okay.
in the script, Sam. Like, there's a lot of things that they're like, oh, we kind of like put this in the script as maybe being a thing, but then it just doesn't actually happen. There's a lot of those in like every movie.
So I feel like, how do I put it? Like, so
I'm
I
not saying
think
it's not a possibility, but I'm just saying it didn't happen, Sam.
I didn't see a script, so I don't know what knowledge you're privy to, Sam. But I didn't see a script.
Right.
Sam
I
wrote
did.
the script. Sam wrote the script.
Yeah, I did.
Oh God. Well,
It's called
whatever.
I'm the
Sam's fan
secret
fiction.
writer.
Sam's fan fiction Spider-Man script. That's what it's called.
All right. So, but in all seriousness, no. Yes, obviously she was like looking at him sideways, like, "Do I know you, buddy?" You know, like that. Like
She was
obviously,
like, "I'm taller than you, so I'm not going to date you."
that was funny.
That's what she was actually thinking.
You know what I actually thought was going to happen at that moment? I thought they were going to reveal.
I know it was
that-
going to bust through the door. And
Yeah,
be
he's
like,
like,
I
"I am-"
am... got me in the suit.
Yeah, he was going to be like, "I am the Rhino," like that. No, that wasn't going to happen. But
This very slow-moving mech suit. I don't know how Spider-Man could ever defeat it.
no. What's gonna happen is, what I thought was gonna happen in that scene was that they were gonna reveal that like because everyone forgot who he was, that like Ned and MJ were now in a relationship, and that would have been like the
Yeah,
ultimate.
that's what I thought was happening too.
Yeah, and I was just gonna be like, wow, like that would just be like the ultimate kick in the fucking nuts for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and Ned's not an attractive, in-shape man, so MJ has no...
Maybe the Kirsten Dunst MJ wouldn't have had any interest, but the Zendaya MJ definitely would.
No, neither of them care.
Well, whatever. But yeah, so and he decides like obviously so we had difference of opinions about this too. Like why didn't he? Because he said before everybody forgot who he was, he said he was gonna tell them, and then obviously he
Here.
didn't. So
Yeah, but
your
he didn't tell them
theory-
yet. He's not
Right.
lying yet.
Right. So my theory is, and I think I think Sam had this theory too, is that he was just going to try to know them as Peter Parker. He wasn't going to try to know them as Spider-Man because he realized that their lives were better off without knowing that he was Spider-Man or without him as Spider-Man in their lives. So, which makes sense if you think about it because the whole movie, the theme is kind of like because they're associated with Spider-Man, their lives are getting fucked up. They can't get into college and whatever. So it makes sense to me that he would do that. And who knows if he's going to keep it a secret forever, but as of right now...
Em, are you doing research?
All
I
right,
have the script
All
right
right.
here.
go for it.
Where's this from?
Here, do you want me to?
Screen
Here, I'm gonna send it here.
No. Send it. Put it in the YouTube chat or the YouTube comments.
The
Start a
Discord
thread.
chat.
Go on Facebook. Go on the Seinfeld Wrestle posting and post it in there.
This is great. Live research. Live research. Oh my
You
god,
post
there it
it.
is.
Oh,
All
it's
right,
in the
we
chat.
can read it because I
Yeah.
exited full screen mode. We can actually read it all.
I know, that's why I sent it to you.
Cool.
A flicker of deja vu on her face. Okay, where'd you get this from?
It's the actual like the screenplay that was released.
Cool, whatever.
See,
a
I
flicker of
think
deja
so.
vu.
Okay, I have my take on that is I think that's just what they were telling her to act like. Essentially, like that was them.
That's in the script.
Yeah, that's in the script,
So-
but that's them That's basically them telling her to be like to give the look of like.
Well, yeah.
like the sideways.
Yeah, okay,
look.
so
Yeah,
here's
that's
the deal.
thing. It's
I
because
think-
MJ is having this slight recognition, like, oh, you're the love of my life. You're very familiar to me, but I don't know you.
No, no, no. To me, as a very intelligent person, what this actually means is
Sure.
that they're just leaving the door open to them being able to do whatever the fuck they want. Like they could make her remember him if they want, or they could make her not remember him if they want. It
Well, I think
depends on who
it's
writes the next movie.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that they are. Obviously, there's going to be a moment, maybe like either in the next movie or maybe another one down the road from that
Yeah,
they're going to
it's not going
have
to be
that moment,
long.
obviously. And then
She becomes
this is
Spider Gwen.
all this is. No, all this is to me, all this is an excuse for them that she can like when he tells her like in the next movie or the one after that, she can just be like, I thought something was funny, like that's
Or
like
what if she figures it out on her own again?
you know what? That's possible. That's possible. I mean, she did kind of sort of figure it out on her own in the last one, or in
Kinda,
No Way
sorta.
Home. Yeah,
She did.
or no, in Far From Home. There's so many homes. The Spider-Man Home trilogy is now complete after this
And
one.
Sherlock Holmes, who was played by both Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch. It's so confusing.
Yeah, so many homes. So yeah, that takes us to the end of the movie. So overall, I
How
will.
about that disappointing post-credit scene that was just a trailer for Doctor Strange?
No. Before that,
No.
the Venom post-credit scene. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. So
Pointless post-credit scene followed by disappointing post-credit scene.
no, it
I
wasn't
really enjoyed the
pointless.
trailer, so
The fucking piece of the symbiote got left in his universe. What do you mean pointless?
yeah.
Oh, so that means Topher Grace is coming
Oh
back?
my fucking god. What?
Oh,
No, no Topher Grace ever again. No.
What do you think would be the new if it's not Tom Hardy? Who would be the Tom Holland universe Venom?
Not Topher Grace.
could
Literally
you imagine if
anyone
it's
but
Ned?
Oh, what?
Wasn't Ned Venom in the comics or something? What, he
No,
was
he
some
was
villain.
No,
Hobgoblin.
Ned's supposed to be
Oh,
Hobgoblin.
he's Hobgoblin.
He was
right.
Hobgoblin, kind of. Not actually, but kind of. He was basically, to make a long story short, he was in a comic. He was just like some nobody who worked with Peter Parker at the Bugle. And in one comic arc, he was kidnapped by the actual Hobgoblin and brainwashed into thinking he was the Hobgoblin so that no one would figure out who the Hobgoblin was. So he was
And
never
who was the Hobgoblin?
some rich asshole.
I don't remember.
Jason something, I think was his name, and he was just some rich asshole with
Did
tech.
you say Buster Keaton?
No, I didn't say whatever. I did not say that. But yeah, so obviously the fucking piece of the symbiote getting left there was important in that, but I thought
Mhm.
the whole scene was funny because it was like it tied into the. I know you didn't watch Venom, John, but the end credit scene of Venom was like Tom Hardy sitting there and talking to Venom, and then there's like a flash of light, and then he gets like transported into now we know that was him getting transported into the universe with Tom Holland because they show him looking at Tom Holland on the TV in that end credit scene, and then he's in the same
Yeah, with
resort.
J. Jonah Jameson outing him.
Exactly, and then on this end credit scene, it's him sitting in the bar and he's trying to like catch up on all of the things that he's like, wait a minute, there was a guy in a tin suit and there was a purple alien who wanted to collect stones, and then he's like, no, I know aliens and they just want to eat brains, because he's talking about Venom because that's all he wants to do. But yes, then he leaves the piece of him gets left there. Now, the obvious hook for this is that it's going to lead into the Tom Hardy Venom, possibly black suit, or Tom Holland black suit
He's
Spider
not.
Man.
Yeah, but who's going to be Eddie Brock? Oh, some people wasn't they saying Flash Thompson? Wasn't he Venom at one point?
He was, I think, in one comic he was. So yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
So
But if there was an Eddie Brock in the Tom Holland universe, who would it be?
not
Who?
Topher
What
Grace.
actor?
Literally not Topher Grace. Anyone else?
Well, honestly, Topher Grace would look threatening compared to 5'2" Tom Holland.
Maybe, but that's not the point. We don't know. So I don't think there is going to be another Venom. I think he might just go black suit, and then like somehow by some bullshit, Tom Hardy might come back and take the piece, or maybe they'll actually blow it up. I don't know. But I actually had another crazy theory, and I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but I had a crazy idea, and
Is
that's
this what you
that.
mentioned to me?
Yes, it's what I told you the other day. So my crazy idea was that maybe the piece, because if you didn't watch Venom, the Venom movie, at the end of the Venom movie, how Venom defeats Carnage is he eats the Carnage symbiote and reabsorbs it into his body, and then he kills Cletus, which I hated, but that's another story because he shouldn't have killed Cletus, but because Cletus shouldn't have died there, because damn it. But whatever. So he reabsorbs the Carnage symbiote in his body. So the crazy out there, probably not going to happen, but would be insane if it did happen. Theory that I have is that the piece of the symbiote that got left behind is actually the Carnage symbiote, and then Tom Holland Spider-Man actually ends up turning into Spider Carnage, and that would be insane, I think. And the only reason I think there's even a shred of a chance that this could happen is because they've bent so many things out in the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe. Like, obviously Aunt May be doing the great power comes great responsibility and then dying, and so many other things that they've changed in the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe that, and we know Spider Carnage exists obviously in one of the universes, so like who knows, maybe this could be that universe, you know?
Could
So
be.
yeah. So
Or maybe there's a new Eddie Brock, and it's like, who would it be? You haven't answered the question. Like, what actor would be the new Eddie Brock? Who hasn't been in
um
Marvel yet?
that is a good question actually.
Henry Cavill.
Absolutely not.
Nah, his hair's the wrong color.
He could pull
uh
it off.
I don't know
Christopher
actually.
Pine.
You know,
Chris Pine.
I really don't know, honestly. I don't have a good answer for that. I really don't. Um,
Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. What's his
but
name?
whoever it is, it damn sure better not be Topher Grace. That's all I can say. Like, all they need,
Ashton
like,
Kutcher.
literally all it needs to be is a muscle bound
Eric
guy.
Trump.
I said muscle bound. All it has to be is a muscular guy, a muscular, dumb looking guy is literally all it has to be.
I'll do it.
Sure. There you go. I
There
mean,
you go.
I hate to say this, but you probably would have been a better choice than fucking Topher Grace. But, it's, yeah, so.
At least I'm over 150 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big selling point. So, but yeah, so overall, I obviously, as you can tell by all the commentary, I really love this movie. I think it takes the cake as the best Spider-Man movie to date. I think that it delivered on everything that it was supposed to, and then some. All the cameos, all the fan service, it pretty much all landed. Obviously, great action, great humor. Um, Plot had some flaws here and there, but like nothing super egregious. I think just stuff. I do agree with what John said in the sense that there's some stuff that if you do think too much about it, you're going to be like, well, that doesn't really make perfect sense. But because everything worked so well, it's something that I'm willing to just be like, it is what it is. Um, but yeah, very positive feelings overall about it. I was very happy with what I got. I was worried a little bit because anytime they undergo they have a massive undertaking like this, it could go sideways, obviously. So I had like a little bit of trepidation going in, like how are they going to pull this off? But they did a great job. I think they did a great job giving the villains their just dues, and giving them screen time and making them formidable. And obviously, I think all the acting was great. Everybody did a great job. And so yeah, really like I don't have any substantial negatives about this movie. I have nits to pick here and there as we went over, but yeah, I really don't. Other than that, think that pretty well covers my opinion on it. So, Sam, anything to add?
I really enjoyed it. It pulled at all of my heartstrings multiple times.
Indeed.
And I'm just ready to see what happens next. I want to see who gets pulled in. I want to see. I do think Tobey Maguire is going to come back, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely,
I
Johnny.
just want to say, I'll say 4 out of 10 Bret Hart. Bret Hart 4 out of, I'll give you a solid Bret Hart 4 out of 10 multiplied by 2, maybe an 8. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody's being overly positive about this movie just because it had way too much fan service. That being said, I really liked the movie, and I really liked the fact that Tobey Maguire was back as Spider-Man, and I really liked the fact that Andre Garfunkel was funny, and, Tom Holland's Spider-Man got more character development than he probably got in all the other movies he was in combined, and there are definitely good things about the movie, but I don't think it's anywhere near as perfect as a lot of people are making it out to be.
Fair enough. So,
Maybe
yeah.
7 out of 10. 8, 7 to 8, somewhere in that range.
All right then. The resident critic um, strikes again.
It's
So
still a good grade.
it is. That is true. So yeah. So speaking of the future, though, because that's the last thing I want to touch on, is yeah, we have a lot to look forward to. So obviously, I think going forward, I don't think there's any more Spider-Man projects on the table right now. But I think obviously we're going to see more of Tom Holland Spider-Man in the future. I think he'll probably get another trilogy. That's my theory. I
This is the
think.
next trilogy. Look what I just put in the chat. This is what's coming up next.
Hold on.
Oh my god.
No! Oh my fucking god! Why? I don't want to fucking ever. I never want to see that again. It was so bad. I fucking hate it. I hate. Oh my god, that's awful. I gotta get back into. I gotta get away from that as fast as possible. Yeah. So I definitely think that so this is an interesting thing that I know I mentioned to you the other day, but um so there was a poll that I saw on YouTube recently that it was what do you want to see, what Spider-Man project do you want to see next, and the options were a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey Maguire, a Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, or a Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield, and then there were a couple other options that didn't make any sense. But um, I think like 50% of the vote was actually for a third Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, which I found myself being one of the people who would advocate for that because I really, after The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was like, this was really not good. I don't want to see any more of this. But now, like I said, and what I touched on earlier, is that I gained a lot more appreciation for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and I would actually like to see him finish his trilogy now. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that, but I would actually be very much up for that. I don't know what the odds are of that happening. I don't think they're great odds, but I would definitely
All
be
right, so
up
I
for seeing
think
that.
first of all, Topher Grace is actually taller than Tom Hardy. Second,
Nobody cares
second of
about
all,
Topher Grace.
second of all, I think the actual logical direction of where they're going to go is they're probably going to just make a. I don't know. They could make another Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. I just don't think Tobey Maguire is going to have like a full Spider-Man movie because it's been so long since Tobey Maguire's been in a Spider-Man movie. He's so old, and he probably really doesn't fucking care. And so I think maybe they could do a Spider-Man movie that has Tobey and like somebody else, but I don't think they're going to do just a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. I don't think that Andrew Garfield has enough of like a fan base that people actually like seriously. People are just saying it because they saw No Way Home and they really liked it, but I don't think like seriously Andrew Garfield is going to get another Spider-Man movie. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I feel like the way it's gonna go is there's just gonna be like another Tom Holland movie, or maybe Tom Holland will get like a TV show or something on Disney Plus. Because as far as I know, like I think Sony and Marvel actually don't have any agreement right now for any more Spider-Man movies, or maybe they have one more movie that Tom Holland's allowed to be in or something. But yeah, so at the moment, like I don't know. I'd say it's pretty indeterminate, but I think it would be unlikely that they make a solo Tom Holland or sorry, a solo Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie.
Sam.
Not to be a party pooper, but that's just what I feel.
Sam.
I mean, I kind of agree. I would like to have another Andrew Garfield movie because I liked The Amazing Spider-Man, but I don't know if we're ever gonna get it. I don't think
It's
we'll get a Tobey Maguire either.
it does seem unlikely. What I think would be more likely would be again, definitely at least one, but my money's going to be on another Tom Holland trilogy somewhere like
I
several years. Like it's not on the agenda right now. It's going to
No, I do. Yeah, because even Tom Holland said he doesn't know what's happening. I mean,
yeah.
could be a lie, but
Yeah, definitely could be. But I mean, he's probably going to take a little bit of a break, I think, from Spider-Man for now, and then he'll be
yeah,
back
he
in a
even
few
said he
years.
wants to settle down and start a family.
Well, Tom Holland said in an interview, he said, "If I'm still playing Spider-Man by the time I'm 30, I failed." He even said that. So
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
just
Like, that's another thing is I don't know if Tom Holland's even going to come back as Spider-Man, or if like maybe they'll recast
I'll leave it
Spider-Man
at that,
again,
though.
or maybe they'll just they'll cool it off. Like maybe they'll just leave. That's the end of Spider-Man for a while, and then when he does come back, he'll be recast. Or maybe actually, what's even more possible? I just thought about this, but this is a serious possibility. They'll just kind of let Tom Holland's Spider-Man like sit around for a while and bring in Miles Morales. Like, because Tom Holland is pretty much
Yeah,
his Spider-Man is pretty much entirely off the radar at this point. Like, nobody even knows he exists. They could just have him like sit around for a while and then have Miles Morales come in as Spider-Man, and then somewhere down the line, if they wanted to, they could bring back Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah, so that was another poll. I'm glad you brought that up because that was another poll that I saw on YouTube. That was, it was I forget exactly what it was, but that was the answer to that one was the Miles Morales Spider-Man. It was another what would you want to see, and the options were, or I forget what all the other options were, but one of them was a Miles Morales Spider-Man, and that one had like I think 70% of the vote. So a lot of people now, like I think after the animated Spider-Verse, and then after No Way Home, which was essentially like a live action Spider Verse kind of combined with like a kind of Sinister Six movie. Um, I think a lot of people. I think the probably the most fan intrigue at this point, and I'm saying this unbiased because this is not where my heart is actually, believe it or not. But I think the most fan intrigue at this point is to see the Miles Morales Spider-Man live action. Even though that's not wouldn't be my priority personally, but I think that that's what the majority of the fans want to see. Um, but yeah, so we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But speaking of what the fans want to see, I think we need to take a second to acknowledge what the fans are going to see. Um, Among other things, I think the next thing we're getting is Moon Knight. I think actually,
What?
right, Sam. Moon Knight. We're getting Moon
Moon
Knight.
Knight.
The Moon
What
Knight.
is Moon Knight?
It's a Disney Plus series that's coming out at the end of March, I believe. And I did not know much of anything about Moon Knight, but I watched the trailer and I did a little bit of research on Moon Knight, and I'm actually pretty much looking forward to this at this point because it looks very interesting. You should check it out. And then we're getting Morbius after that, which is actually right around the same time as that. I think the beginning of
Didn't
April.
Morbius get pushed back again?
I don't think it got pushed back again. It's coming out April 1st at this point, I think, is the release. It might get pushed again.
I'm much more interested in the Obi-Wan series that they just released a trailer for.
Yes, that they didn't not a real one, still not a real one, but they did say that it was coming. There have been so many fan-made Obi-Wan trailers that it just pisses me off. Like every time I fucking
I
click.
don't even look.
Okay, don't be.
That's-
This is your public service announcement for the day. Don't be a clickbait motherfucker. Like, don't be that guy to fucking make all this clickbait. Like, it's just stop it, knock it off.
So who's
Um,
Moon Knight now? Is it the guy who shows you his ass?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, it's Oscar Isaac actually from Star Wars. So
Wait, really?
yeah, he's
Yeah.
Moon Knight. So
Dude, he was also Apocalypse.
he
Yeah.
was Apocalypse.
Remember that? He
Yeah.
was Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. That was
Really?
that was
I didn't know
Poe
that
Dameron.
actually.
You couldn't even
Oh.
tell from all the prosthetic makeup.
Yeah, I
He's
didn't
in
know that.
Star Wars, Marvel, and DC.
X-Men isn't DC, fool.
Oh no, yeah, I don't know why I said that.
He's not in DC.
Yeah,
yet.
he's just Star Wars and
Hopefully
Marvel.
in Marvel.
Yeah, but X-Men, Sony Marvel, and real Marvel.
Yes, real Marvel and fake Marvel. So hopefully he finds more success with this. And then there's Morbius we talked about. But more importantly, at this point than all of that, I think, and we just got another an actual like full length trailer for this, or another one, I guess.
Yeah.
Is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming out in May? So if you haven't seen that trailer, look at that because that looks pretty insane.
It looks
What is
so
it?
good.
What is it?
The new Doctor Strange trailer.
Oh,
Came
well,
out today.
I saw the one in the post-credit scene. It was disappointing.
Yeah, there's a new one that came out today.
Maybe I'll watch it tomorrow.
You should. It's got some pretty big shit in it. So,
Mm-hmm.
including spoiler alert, perhaps the return of one Patrick Stewart.
Oh, as Mr. X.
We don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. So we're split on this. Sam says yes. I say no. I don't think he's going to be returning as
He's.
Professor
Oh, I
X.
was gonna
He's
say
gonna
he's
be Lex
bald, but Patrick
Luthor.
Stewart's always bald.
He's
No,
gonna be
it's
Lex
not
Luthor.
always. It's not always. I mean,
Dude, Patrick Stewart is too old to do anything at this point.
he could walk and talk.
He's not. He's doing Picard right now.
There you go.
yeah,
that
but
too.
we all know who that's turning out.
Can't argue with you there. So, yeah. So I think the best thing that any product can do is not only let you enjoy it and be excited for it, but also be looking forward to the next thing. And somehow Marvel usually always manages to pull that out, except for pretty much the Eternals. When I watched that, I was like, I don't want to see what happens next. But
Why?
because Harry Styles, that's why.
I like who's Harry Styles? Is he AJ Styles' brother?
Yes. So
Bernard, this is actually what happened in the trailer. Is this what happened in the trailer? Look in the chat what I just posted. Is that what happened in the
it's just gonna
trailer?
be
The
fucking
Doctor Strange
It's
trailer?
gonna be fucking Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Man, I know it is.
No,
That's what happened in the
it's
trailer.
not.
What the fuck? I can't even. The screen is cutting off the head, so I can't even see who it is. And
It's
that's fine,
Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, and they're kissing.
of course. So, great. So
They're best friends.
good for them. So,
I mean, I don't kiss any of my best friends on the lips.
They've
well,
had like they've been friends for
Not even my female friends.
I don't even know how long.
well, yeah, that would be rapey, but yeah. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the future. As always, so Marvel always leaves you wanting more. I think so. I'm happy with what we got, and I'm happy that they pulled off No Way Home the way that they did, and I can't wait for the Multiverse of Madness is probably going to have even more bending shit. Um,
For
so
sure.
so that was the
Especially
last
with
thing.
Wanda involved.
Right, and that was the last thing I wanted to say is that the bigger significance I think of No Way Home in the world of Marvel is the fact that now it's kind of like the doors are open to like all this other shit, right? So like you don't know who the fuck you're going to see next because if they were able to bridge the gaps of like having all the Spider-Men in a movie together, and also even in the post-credit scene Venom obviously. So like who knows what's next, like maybe in the multiverse of madness you're gonna see like fucking x-men, you're gonna see fantastic four, like you're gonna see deadpool maybe, like we don't know, like it could be the possibilities are endless at this point, honestly they really are. So somehow I don't know how they do it, but somehow they just keep finding a way to outdo themselves. So
It's called lots and lots of money.
yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
you got me there. That is 100%. So but yeah, any closing thoughts, Sam?
Nope.
Pretty well ties it up in a bow.
Free to bet.
Johnny, free to bet. All right, fair enough. So I think that's a good place to leave it. But yeah, so yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed this very special edition of the Captain's Table. Don't count on another live feed anytime soon. But
Ever.
well,
It's gone on about an hour and a half too long.
it's fine. It always runs late. It is what it is. So
I get up in like
make sure
5 hours.
to hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share the video if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. I'd like to thank my guests, of course, another rendition of the not so expert panel, Jonny Reps and Feltz Wild, for being here to discuss finally a long awaited discussion of the incredible, amazing
Hulk.
Spider Man No Way
Incredible
Home.
Hulk.
Yes, so
Let's talk
thank
about
you.
that next time. Let's watch the
Sure,
Hulk movie and then talk about it.
probably not. So thank you
Oh, with
guys both for being here.
Edward Norton.
Appreciate it.
No
Oh, the one
problem.
with the one with the Shrek Hulk. Let's do that one.
Oh God. I don't think anybody wants to watch that. Not even the people who
I've
made
never
it.
even seen either of those.
I've never seen Shrek Hulk, and I don't want to, and I'm not gonna. So,
Did you ever see Edward Norton Hulk, Sam?
Nope.
It wasn't bad.
yeah. I don't think we're gonna go there though. So, but
We should watch both of those Hulk movies and determine which one's actually and made for TV live action Lou Ferrigno Hulk movie from like 1984 and determine which of those three is the best Hulk movie. Because
probably the Ed Norton is probably the best one, and that's just sad, but probably sad but true.
oh my god, some of the effects in the 2003 Hulk movie are fucking hilarious. They look like they were made in like Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah, I don't want to think about. I've only seen parts of it, but I don't want to ever see the whole thing because it just looks that bad. But I still want to see a Mark Ruffalo standalone Hulk, but um, who knows?
Be Mr. Hulk.
Professor Hulk.
Hold on,
Yeah.
it's in 1990. It's called The Death of the Hulk, The Incredible Hulk from 1990.
Screw all that. I'd like to see Professor Hulk at one point, but it's not on the table just yet.
So can we watch? We'll watch Hulk 2003, The Incredible Hulk
No, I
2008,
said.
Death of the Hulk from 1990, and
No,
we'll
we're
determine
not
which
doing-
one is
Absolutely
truly
not.
We're not. I
a
gotta
real
listen.
Hulk.
I gotta save all my tolerance for bad movies to watch the fucking Robert Pattinson Batman movie, so I can review that. So
It's gonna be good. Wait. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Are you sure about that? Like, I think it's gonna be pretty good.
I think it's gonna be great.
if DC has
Bernard,
taught me
there's no
anything-
way that Marvel will ever surpass this.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. We'll leave you with that parting image. So,
Oh my god.
yeah, they'll never get any better than that. You got that right. So, all right, so that's it, and we'll see you next time.
You're still recording?